Welcome to the Body Peace Podcast, formerly known as Her Story on a Plate. This podcast has always been a space for deep, nuanced conversations about food, body image, and the stories our bodies carry. But as conversations have grown, so has our mission.
That's why this is now the Body Peace Podcast, a name that reflects what we're truly here for, helping you step off the battlefield with your body and move toward more compassion, connection, and ease.
Each episode will bring real, honest dialogue with your hosts, me, I'm Jennie Kramer.
And me, Nina Manolson. We'll also be joined by guests whose personal stories and professional wisdom offer new ways of thinking, feeling, and being in your body.
We're so glad you're here. Welcome to the Body Peace Podcast. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Body Peace. This is an exciting episode for us. You know, it's really the kind of things we talk about all the time with our clients, with each other, with our audience. And that is really what we're calling emotional eating. And I hope that out of listening today that you're going to come to a greater compassion about this and maybe some really practical skills about how to start to manage some of that. I'm here with Nina Manolson, of course, and we have a rare treat today. Nina's going to actually recite a body peace poem that she's created for this purpose, and we're just excited to hear it. Hi, Nina.
Hi, Jenny. It's always so fun. So let's start with this poem because it just names it. This whole thing around emotional eating. So this poem that I wrote is called A Poem for Anyone Who's Ever Eaten Their Feelings. I like to eat my feelings. Say it. Say it like it's a fact. No angst, no guilt, no shame. No, I shouldn't eat emotionally. It's not a question. It's not how do I stop myself from eating my feelings. It's not how do I stop reaching for the flavor that soothes. It's just the truth. I like to eat my feelings. Full stop. Don't add, I shouldn't because then I'll eat too much, then I'll eat the carbs, the brownies, the all-you-can-eat buffet. Just feel this. I like to eat my feelings. I like to eat because it brings me comfort. It turns down the volume on intensity, on sad, mad, and alone. When I say I like to eat my feelings, I mean I'm hungry for comfort, for some sweetness, for a break. Embrace this. Notice the challenge of being in your body with your feelings. Acknowledge and appreciate how food can be self-care. I like to eat my feelings. When you say this, know that you are not alone. We all eat emotionally. We are emotional beings. We eat food and have feelings about our food. We have feelings about having eaten our food. When we own it, we are able to eat the food, and the food no longer eats us. We are able to choose food, and the food doesn't choose us. We are able to feel our feelings, and the feelings no longer consume us. When we own it, we make space to be in an authentic relationship with ourselves.
That's beautiful. Lots to unpack there. Beautiful. How about this idea that we are hungry for comfort? Well, how about that idea?
How
I mean,
about that? I'm
if
desperate for comfort.
yes, and you know that's sort of part of the human condition, but certainly now, as we find ourselves in the place in history we are, people are even more and more hungry for some form of comfort, right? That's not to say that food is the only way to get comfort, right? I mean, we've said on this podcast, you know, time and time again, food is not a bad thing. It is not a good thing. It is a thing, and it is part of our lives. And, you know, if one is able to get nurturance from food and aesthetic value from food, food has so much meaning in terms of, you know, people and family and community and all of that. If you know when, I think our listeners know when they're really sort of abusing food, we'll use that word, using it in a way that in the end feels like it's hurting them.
Yeah.
And that's when it's not really comfort. You know, I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many people we probably both work with who say, it feels so automatic. It feels like a really good idea in the moment. There is this moment where there is some numbing or some endorphin rush even, and then there's the second after that,
Yeah.
where there's just a lot of regret.
Yeah.
So I wanna just unpack how that all unfolds. Yeah.
And I would even flip that idea of, abusing food into we end up punishing ourselves
Mhm.
with food. And it's something I have said in the past because I did have a binging history. And there was a point when I was really working on healing it to ask myself, am I punishing myself right now? Am I using food to hurt myself,
Mm.
right? When we turn to food because we've got hot feelings, right? Anything that's very activating, and we're like, this is too hot, this is uncomfortable. I don't want to feel this angry, this sad, this grief, this rage, this whatever it is. And we say, okay, I want to turn it down. Great. I have a substance that will turn it down. And so it's one thing to make yourself like a big, bowl of soup or have some ice cream. But then when it becomes, the pint and the second pint, and you're like, what am I doing here?
Right.
A very
Well,
powerful question is, am I punishing myself?
this brings up a distinction that we've talked about before, right? This very fine line between what we'll call emotional eating and binge eating. Emotional eating is more of a conscious choice. It is, sort of something we do in an episodic way. Binge eating really relates more to the volume of food that is in one sitting, to the point
Yes.
of physical pain, to the point of falling asleep, to the point of running out of food. I mean, that's really sort of a bigger version of emotional eating, though driven by the same things.
Right.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
I think
interesting. Like, that's such an important distinction. Like, because some people come to me and say, I binge eat. And when we really look at it, what they're doing is saying, I have a feeling and I'm trying to turn it down with, I don't know, I'm really angry. And so I ate a bag of chips and now I feel bad. Okay, let's look at that as I am trying to cope with my anger by going crunch, 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 crunch. I'm really angry. And somehow I've actually processed it through both the crunching, that somatic, like, and the rhythmic process of eating something like chips or popcorn or something where we reach and put in our mouth and reach and put in our mouth. It is literally, it is soothing to our nervous system.
Mhm.
So we can pull those apart as, okay, that looks like emotional eating, and this where I can't stop, where it just goes on until I literally trigger my body into parasympathetic rest and digest mode. That is binge eating. So I think I appreciate you pulling those apart. And let's look today, let's do another episode about binge eating, but let's look today at specifically emotional eating because it comes with a lot of tools that we can use to start to go, what am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? What is actually going on here?
Right. And, when you talk about tools, let's first talk about what we don't mean by that. Dieting is not a tool.
Yes.
Restriction is not a tool. If I had a nickel for every person that has ever said to me, um, you know, I would be fine if it's just stuff I wouldn't buy. If I wouldn't buy, then it wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be in the house, and then I wouldn't eat it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the myth. The truth is that if you're looking for something to comfort you, you will find it,
Yeah.
and it can be really anything.
Yeah.
And restriction is really, again, a way of punishing yourself in a way, because it's not responding to a hunger cue, in a different way.
Yeah.
And so that's really not the way.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, there's never enough episodes to mention GLP-1s, which are, the injectable, the diet
Ozempic,
regulations,
Manjaro,
Ozempic,
all
right,
of
all of
those.
those. And, there's been a lot of conversation about, oh, it turns off all the food noise.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. And listen, by the way, if that's working for you, that's lovely. But I want to talk about this word food noise because is the food noise a hunger cue? Because that's not noise. That's you having a relationship with food.
That's
And
actually tuning in. That's a wonderful attunement. right? I just
Right.
have to, before, I know you have another thought after that, but I
No,
have
no,
to just say
please
something
go
about
for it.
food noise because it's so interesting to me, this whole thing around GLP-1s, where I hear people saying, it really turns down my food noise. And what I am hearing is it turns down my hunger cues. But then I hear all sorts of food noise that's going with it, which is, am I getting enough protein? My digestion is off. How do I get my digestion back online? Like there's a whole other set of, I would say, food noise obsession that goes with GLP-1s. And again, we are not judging. You have body autonomy. You get to do whatever you want with your body. And we
Amen.
just want to be very clear, like, what are you swapping out here? Are you swapping out attunement to your body saying, I'm hungry, for, oh my gosh, am I doing this right?
Well, it boils down to trust. See, if you trust yourself and you trust your cues and you trust yourself to be able to take a moment, see where you are, then that's one thing. If you don't trust yourself, then you're going to look to all of the things that are going to stop you from yourself. I
Right.
mean, imagine that phrase, right? You want to stop yourself from yourself. I've heard this with bariatric surgery. I've certainly heard it with the GLP-1 medications, with every diet on the planet. Please just give me something that stops me from myself. What does that mean? That
Right.
means I don't want to have feelings. I don't want to respond to them. And for sure, I don't want to respond to them in a way that at the end of the day isn't going to help me anyway. So why not just turn it all off?
Oh my gosh, doesn't this speak, Jenny? Oh my gosh, doesn't this speak to the complexity of being a human being?
Yes.
How it is so, there's so much going on in us. And sometimes it feels overwhelming. It feels strong. It feels enraging. It feels grief stricken. It feels like big feelings,
Yes.
both emotionally and sensorially, right?
Yes.
And how do we make space for that instead of outsourcing? I can't be trusted with all of this going on.
Mhm.
Let me outsource it to somebody else's plan or some other medication that's going to just dial the volume down off of how intense it is to be a human being in this world right now.
I'll say from where I sit, very intense.
Yes.
So let's talk first of all about you know, what happens when we can't really even identify our own feelings, right?
Oh, I love this.
There's the rush of the day. I don't have the time. I can't really sit and contemplate my navel. Thank you very much. I really just have to go about my day. And, I don't really
Yeah.
have time to be, I can't use the M word. I can't be mindful.
Yeah. The
People
M
hate
word.
the word mindful. They've come to hate this word.
No,
I mean,
honestly, I'm like them.
mindful.
It's just become jargon. It doesn't mean
Right.
anything anymore.
But I
Yeah.
think the meaning underneath it, it's more about
Yes.
paying attention.
Yes.
It's about taking a moment to literally take a breath, if you can, just have life stop around you for just about a minute and say, okay, where am I? And what am I feeling? Mostly, by the way, in my body.
Yeah.
Am I feeling sensations? Are they uncomfortable? Are they comfortable? If they're uncomfortable, do I have to just turn them off? Can I be curious for a moment about what they are? I am really, I think it'll be on my epitaph one day. I really recommend journaling to people so much because and I don't mean you have to write a novel, and it doesn't,
No,
grammar
it can be
doesn't
on
count.
post-its. Like it
Right.
doesn't have to
It's
be
just about
complex.
downloading all of the things that you're thinking and feeling in that moment just to take the pressure off. And it
And
doesn't
if
matter what they are, they're all valid.
and if you can't journal, say it out loud. It's
Mm.
another thing. I always say speak your state.
Oh,
Right? You're feeling uncomfortable. I don't know what I'm feeling. I'm just feeling uncomfortable. Okay. Say it out loud. If you can't write it down, I'm feeling uncomfortable and this is why, and here's what my discomfort would feel. If you can't do that, say out loud, I feel uncomfortable. Because
mhm.
when we name it, whether it's out loud, whether it's in a journal, whether we say it to someone else, it acknowledges I'm having an experience.
Yes.
And just
Um,
like if someone else came up to you and said, I'm uncomfortable, you'd be like, oh, what's going on?
I
Tell
have this
me.
I have this composite in my head of so many women that I've had the privilege of working with. So here's the composite. I'm thinking about, like, let's just see, a 40-year-old woman who has, I don't know, 2.7 children, however many children she has, running hither and yon, having to take this one to that team and that game and this,
Mm-hmm.
that, and that extracurricular, and oh, by the way, the tutor, and oh, the therapist, and all that. And you want me to what? You want me to think about how to be mindful? Well, maybe not in that second, because you're being this fearless mom who's got to do all she's got to do. But when all the noise turns off and everybody's gone to bed, and you say to yourself, well, this is my time now. I want to reward myself. You can reward yourself in any number of ways. And if food feels like the way to do that, you can. There's
Mm-hmm.
never going to be judgment here. And there are other ways to reward yourself. Is it about taking a bath? Is it about listening to music that you have always loved? Is it about looking through photographs that really bring you joy? Is it about working on something like a poem or a story or even a painting? Oh, sure, I'm going to rip out my paints at 10 p.m. at night. Yes, make a spot for yourself in the house if that's something
Mm-hmm.
that you love to do.
But
Um,
it can also be as simple as acknowledging it, right? When my kids were little and I would put them to bed, and I was felt like honestly I deserved a medal every night that I actually got them to go to sleep. And I would go down to the kitchen and I'd open the fridge and I'd be like, "Why am I standing here? I'm not really that hungry." And I'm here. I find myself in front of the fridge. Oh, I'm looking for a gold medal in that fridge or a gold sticker to put on my forehead that says, "Yay, you did it again. You got your kids to go to sleep." And even just saying, I deserve a freaking gold medal for being the mom that I was today is how I want to take care of myself. And if just to flip it a tiny bit, I'm having feelings. How do I want to take care of myself? Because I am having feelings in that moment, I deserve to be tended to. I deserve to be cared to, just like your kid, just like your friend who says, I'm having some big feelings. Honey, what do you need?
it also speaks to how else do we express our feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, um, more and more and more and more, I keep hearing and reading that community is such a vital part of life. Whatever
Yeah.
that means to you, whether it's, whatever is your affiliation that creates community,
Mm-hmm.
there have to be ways to sort of download your thoughts, your feelings, your experience with the people that mean something to you. Is it your partner? Is it a community? Is it family? Is it all of the above? And then it's also about, can I even be part of online communities, right? Where
Yeah.
people are just expressing lots of thoughts and feelings, just as a way to dump it in a
Yep.
way,
Yeah.
not to run away from the feelings, but to not, crush them and keep them in.
Yeah.
I think when we keep them in, that's when we tend to want to self-soothe more than any other time.
100%. 100%. And one of the things I'm noticing for myself, and I think we have a problem. Hold on. Let's just put where are we? I think we're at about 17 minutes. It says
Mhm.
trying to reconnect. Make sure you have
1852.
1852. So hold on. It says make sure, there we go. Okay, now I'm back. It said I had an unstable. So we're back at 19. You there?
Okay.
Okay, we're back at 19.
So the idea
So,
is not to not
so,
the idea is not to feel feelings. The idea is to have a place to express them
well,
and
it's interesting that
how
you
you want to
say
do
that. Right, because that whole idea of social media and being connected is I've been having a really hard time with the losses and in the Jewish community. And just when we're recording this, just this week, two wonderful young people were gunned down in DC because they were Jewish, because they were thought to be Jewish, because they were at a Jewish event. And I'm enraged and I'm grieving. And what do? I go onto social media to the friends who I know get it and say, this is so hard. And I share and we carry the
it.
pain together,
Yes,
right?
and social media is good news, bad news, isn't it, right? In the way that you just described it, it's such
Mm-hmm.
a constructive outlet. Social media can be its own binge. when you go into I think people are calling it like the death scroll, I think they're calling it, right?
Doom scrolling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, they just like, they could
Mm-hmm.
literally be on and 2 hours goes by.
Yeah.
And the truth is it's creating a series of endorphin rushes.
It is.
Now, you
And
might be
also,
listening.
it creates conflict, right? You can also end up in huge arguments that then feel like they
Mhm.
activate even more and
Mm.
that can be painful. So, right, where are you actually being supported and held is important.
Yeah, the other thing that we haven't really talked about too is body movement. And let me be very clear what I mean about that. I do not use the word exercise. To me, it has a lot of connotations that are very diet culture driven, that feel very like they have some goal at the end of it, which has to do with, body size reduction. When I say body movement, what I mean is, and I know, Nina, you feel the same way about this, that it's really that bodies are meant to move. And so, whatever that means for you, it will be a release of energy. I am not saying you have to run a half marathon. I am not saying that you have to play 4 hours of tennis. I am merely saying move your body if it
Yeah.
means just stretching in place, if it means taking a 15-minute walk and it's not snowing in 3 o'clock in the morning, so stay safe. But just to be able to sort of displace the energy
Yeah.
for just even a short period of time.
But one of the most powerful things that I really recommend to people is shaking. Start by shaking as though you have something icky on your hands. Like shake your hands like there's like a bug on it or something. And
Mm,
let that shake go up your arms, into your shoulders, doing
mm,
a shimmy. Let your whole body shake because what you're doing is activating sensation and you're shifting your nervous system experience, right? You're shifting the energy of yourself, right? If you think about emotions, energy in motion, right?
yes, for sure. I mean, it's a brilliant idea. I hear so often from folks who say, Um, this has become a habit. I don't even really even know I'm doing it anymore until I see, empty containers or until I just don't feel well or
Mm-hmm.
I realize that my body size has shifted in a way I would like it not to. I understand how that feels. And what we're talking about here is just being in a conscious moment on a 1 minute at a time basis. For instance, let's go back to our scenario where it's later in the evening or later at night, and this feels like the time to reward yourself. This is the time when it's quiet in the house, even if you live alone, it's quiet in the house. This is my moment. Go at whatever you're going to do slowly and carefully. If you want to eat something, then you should eat something, but not standing in front of a refrigerator, not, with an entire bag, package, can, container, whatever, that's meant for multiple servings. Take something, take what you want, enjoy it. Make sure that you're taking something that tastes good to you
Mm-hmm.
and take it to a place where you can sit down and eat it and not in bed and not in the car. And sit down with it and taste it and enjoy the taste slowly. And when you have finished what you've taken, take a moment and see if you want more. It's
Yeah.
just slowing the whole thing down. That to me is one of the key ways to break the cycle in some ways.
Yeah. And one of the things, like just to take it from a clinical perspective,
Yes.
one of the frames that you can put what you just said in is action commitment therapy, right? Like,
Mm,
name it. This is what I'm feeling. This is what I want. Say it out loud, journal about it, right? Then allow it. I'm having a feeling. I am going to choose to eat. I'm going to be here and take an action that is in alignment with your values. I'm going to support myself. I'm going to respect myself. I'm going to choose this food that I love. I'm going to put myself in a lovely place. I'm going to light that candle,
mm,
right? So name it, allow it, and then choose a behavior that is in alignment with your values of
mhm.
listening to yourself, of honoring yourself because you deserve it.
And then with the idea of naming it, I think you have to be able to also name the feelings.
Yeah.
It's one thing to say, I just don't like how I feel. Understood. What is it that you're feeling? Be
And
able to
yeah,
say,
feeling
is it
charts
rage?
can
Is it
really help. Feeling charts can really help for this
I was
if you
just
have
gonna
no
say there's
idea.
something online called a feelings wheel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could just Google it, and it has probably more emotions than you knew you were capable of having, but it gives you a nice variety. If we talk about the general categories, right? Am I feeling, um, anger? Am I feeling sadness? Am I feeling lonely? Am I
Yeah.
feeling frustrated? Whatever it may be. Fat is not a feeling. You may say, I feel fat. Well, I got it. That means you're negatively and harshly observing your impression of your body size.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a feeling.
Yeah.
The feeling is more about, where do I feel this in my body?
Yeah.
Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling worried? All
Yeah.
of those things. And by the way, you don't get to choose one. You can have 10 if you really want.
Yes. You're also allowed to have, I have mixed feelings.
Mm,
I am overwhelmed. If you can't unpack all the feelings, to
mm.
be able to give it a group name, right? This is overwhelm. This is uncomfortable until you get good at the language of feelings.
I'll
And
say one more thing, which is that I can imagine some are listening and saying, okay, great, this all makes perfect sense except for one thing. There are moments where I can't even tell what I'm feeling. I'm just so racked and I'm so rushed and I'm so, everything and I can't really tell. I don't know what to do. And eating just seems to tamp it all down and turn down the volume.
mm-hmm,
Got it.
mm-hmm,
Here's one other thing you might want to try first, and that is to take, believe it or not, something very cold, like an ice cube or a bag of peas, whatever, something out of the freezer, and just hold it in your hand. Just keep moving it in your hand. Don't hurt yourself. Move it in your hand. Just keep moving it from one hand to the other. Put it on your forehead just to cool your body down for even if it's the dead of winter, just to take a minute to cool your body down. And I promise that you will be at least better able to discern what's going on right now in this moment. It's
yeah.
an old DVT trick. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
And just to wrap things up, we're talking about a lot of different things, right? We're talking about the language of feelings. We're talking about the language of sensation. We're talking about navigating our nervous system. We're talking about taking actions that are based in care and overall everything. We're talking about being compassionate with ourselves and allowing ourselves to be human.
And I must say, I really invite our listeners to really go to the Body Peace website because there are resources that would also be just additionally helpful. We can't cover them all in one episode, but really very practical techniques that I think are helpful.
Yeah.
I know this is a very hot topic. We've been asked to talk about this, and I feel a part two coming on
Mm-hmm.
because it really is one of the
It's a
hottest
big one.
topics that folks
Yeah.
ask us to talk about. Always great to see you, my friend Nina.
Always great to see you,
And
Jenny.
thank you all for listening. See you all soon. We're so glad you joined us on this episode of Body Peace.
Stay connected as we continue exploring what it means to live in your body with more ease, trust, and care by subscribing to Body Peace on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen.
Be sure to visit us at bodypeacepodcast.com for special bonus content for those on our mailing list.